There exists a strange corner of the internet where facts are optional, but outrage is mandatory. In this parallel dimension, Meghan Markle isn't a mother of two. No, she's a second-rate actress cosplaying as royalty with a silicone belly strapped on by Hollywood's finest FX team. And the only thing we're supposed to believe is a woman known only as DL, claiming to be the real mother of Archie and Lilibet. Here, logic died a long time ago. According to the gospel of online sleuths, Meghan couldn't have given birth. Why? Because she looked too good. Because she walked too upright. Because, brace yourself, she danced in a hospital room. Apparently, in their minds, real mothers must lie immobile, expressionless, and glowing only with medical sweat. A blurry old video, Meghan smiling, perhaps even swaying a little, is played on loop like the Zapruder film. And the internet jury convicts her on one charge: she's faking it. Because what self-respecting duchess dances while pregnant? Clearly, that's moon bump behavior. Or worse, evidence of a secret global conspiracy to sneak illegitimate children into the royal line. Enter DL, the self-declared surrogate in the shadows. She claims she was locked away, forbidden to speak, handed contracts by candlelight, and injected with royal airs. And now, conveniently, she comes bearing gifts, NDAs, ultrasounds, emails, possibly even an embroidered baby blanket signed Love, Harry. Never mind that we've never seen her face. Or heard her real name. Or had a single independent verification. Because DL is not real, she is necessary. She is the linchpin of a fantasy world where Meghan is always lying, always scheming, always unworthy. And in that world, truth is only valid if it confirms your suspicion. The silence from Meghan and Harry? Clearly guilt. If they respond? Clearly overcompensation. Heads, she faked it. Tails, she faked it harder. This isn't about babies or bellies. It's about power. About the visceral discomfort some people feel when a biracial woman claims space in a historically white, male, and royal institution, and worse, dares to thrive. The idea that Meghan might simply have carried, birthed, and raised her own children is unbearable to those desperate to unsee her humanity. So they build an alternative story. One with moon bumps, contract surrogates, and belly creases analyzed like crop circles. One where Archie and Lilibet are not just children, they are props in an elaborate fraud, symbols of a kingdom gone rogue. And in this circus, Meghan becomes not a mother, but an actress in a maternity costume. Yet ironically, the real actors are the conspiracy theorists, playing the roles of medical experts, moral judges, and forensic bump analysts, all with a Wi-Fi connection and too much time. They call her a fraud. But the real deception is theirs, dressing up misogyny and racism as citizen journalism. Trading fact for fiction, and passing it off as truth. It's not just tasteless, it's dangerous. Maybe Meghan doesn't need to respond. Because as the saying goes, if you wrestle with pigs, you both get dirty, and the pig likes it. The silence was deafening. No denial. No legal threat. No Instagram story with floral filters and passive-aggressive quotes about truth speaking for itself. Just nothing. And into that nothing, DL marched, not with pitchforks, but with paperwork. She's lawyered up. DNA test? Agreed. Ultrasounds? Filed. Timeline documents? Color-coded. The woman behind the curtain was stepping into the spotlight, not to act, but to testify. And suddenly, a tabloid fantasy started sounding like a deposition transcript. The Sussex brand, once sold as authenticity, love, and liberation from the crown, now faced its ultimate undoing. Not by a palace press leak. Not by a scandalous sibling. but by a woman who claimed she'd been paid to disappear and had simply changed her mind. And as the evidence mounted, the institution that once dismissed the rumors with a royal shrug began to flinch. Not because they believed DL, but because the world suddenly did. Meanwhile, Meghan's meticulously curated image, modern mother, feminist icon, global empath, began to crack under the weight of one question: why aren't you denying this? Harry, once the charming rogue of the royal family, was now reduced to a man blinking in slow motion, reportedly pacing, yelling, and sleeping in separate quarters while palace aides held unofficial emergency briefings with constitutional lawyers. Because if DL's DNA matched even one of those children? Forget scandal. We're talking about a direct threat to the line of succession. Titles, trust funds, taxpayer funding, all up for grabs. All built, allegedly, on a lie. And what of DL? From ghost to whistleblower, she became a media wildfire. Every morning show, every late-night comedian, every tweet storm turned her into the most dangerous woman never seen at a royal balcony. She didn't wear a crown. She had something far scarier: receipts. Then came the leaked hospital records. An email chain. A letter, reportedly from Harry himself, handwritten, calling her courageous and essential to our family's future. That wasn't just scandal. That was admission. By now, even Meghan's staunchest defenders were mumbling into their oat milk lattes. She should say something. Maybe she did have help. It was a complicated time. The think pieces flipped tone faster than a Kensington butler during a fire drill. And yet, Meghan remained silent. Strategically, stubbornly, self-destructively silent. Because when you're fighting ghosts, maybe your best weapon is pretending they don't exist. But DL was very real. Her lawyers were real. The court hearing? Set. DNA collection scheduled. And should the match come through, it would not be a scandal, it would be an implosion. Imagine it, the palace forced to strip titles. Netflix documentaries relabeled as fiction. Royal succession charts redrawn like battle maps. Meghan's TED Talks on motherhood recategorized under fantasy. And Harry? No longer the rebel prince, but the man who may have defrauded a monarchy. What began as online gossip now stood before a judge. And what once seemed like cruel speculation now looked like a constitutional crisis wrapped in a baby blanket. This wasn't just a PR disaster anymore. It was bloodline jeopardy. And in the monarchy, that's the kind of thing that ends reigns. The courtroom was silent. The media, not so much. One by one, the documents surfaced. The timeline aligned. The pregnancy contracts, real. The surrogate agreement, signed. And then, like the final act in a Shakespearean tragedy, the DNA results dropped. Match. DL wasn't just the woman in the shadows anymore. She was the biological mother of Archie and Lilibet. And with that one test tube and one court seal, the entire royal narrative collapsed like a soufflé at Buckingham brunch. First came the headlines. Royal lie exposed. Meghan never gave birth. DNA bombshell rattles monarchy. Then the consequences. Titles frozen. Public funds reviewed. Legal teams scrambling to untangle a mess that even the Crown wouldn't dare script. The Sussex brand, once built on truth, vulnerability, authenticity, now looked like a premium Netflix hoax. Suddenly, Meghan's tearful interviews, her speeches on maternal strength, her branded baby books, all smelled less like empowerment and more like performance art with a legal disclaimer missing. And Harry? The boy who walked behind his mother's casket now found himself dragging the credibility of an ancient monarchy behind him, one shredded press release at a time. The palace reportedly offered him a choice: renounce all claims or prepare for formal exile. The second one, again. But just when it looked like the curtain had closed, Meghan blinked. Her team leaked whispers of coercion, emotional duress, a narrative forced upon her by a controlling institution. The word surrogacy was floated, not as scandal, but as empowerment. She didn't lie, they said, she protected her body, her privacy, her truth. And in the age of curated empathy and platformed pain, the narrative began to shift again. Clips resurfaced, Meghan in quiet tears. Meghan hugging children. Meghan delivering soft-spoken truths in a microphone-lit glow. PR agencies worked overtime. Strategists spoke of reframing the motherhood experience. Influencers began posting again, let's not shame women for how they build families. The public, predictably fickle, began to fracture. Some cried betrayal. Others, betrayal of her. Some demanded apologies. Others demanded season 2. Because this was no longer about the truth. This was about who controlled the story. Buckingham Palace, rigid and mute, clung to protocol like a sinking ship to its last royal portrait. Meanwhile, Meghan, flawed, cornered, polarizing, did what she always did: survived the scandal by stepping into it. She announced a tell-all. Not a statement. Not a press release. A multi-platform docu-confessional, produced, of course, by her own media arm. Title: Born of Truth. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. So, was it the fall? Or the fight back? The answer, like everything in the House of Sussex, depended not on what happened, but on who you believed. Because in the age of curated chaos, truth isn't king anymore. Narrative is. And Meghan Markle? For better or worse, in shame or in spin, she's still holding the pen.